Hello, this is Inspiring Moms. I'm Susan with Mommy High Five, and our guest today is Mindy Guymon. Mindy is a wife and a mother of 6 children, including a daughter with Down syndrome, who is also a cancer survivor, and she has a really inspiring story. Thanks for being here, Mindy.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're just so excited to talk to you today. Will you tell us a little bit more about your family and more about your story and how it's all unfolded?
Sure. So, my husband and I met at college and have been married now about 15 years in July. We have 6 kids. We have 3 girls and 3 boys. And yeah, we're just, going through all of the life things and then had our fourth child, a daughter, Tessa, and didn't know that she had Down syndrome before she was born and found out at the hospital shortly after she was born. And yeah, we were trying to navigate through that diagnosis, and kind of as soon as we were getting the hang of that whole thing, found out she had cancer in February of 2018. So she fought cancer for 2.5 years, did all the chemotherapy, and has now been cancer-free for 3 years this May.
Well, congratulations on that. That must be a huge relief.
Thank you. It is. It's definitely a huge relief. There's ups and downs, after you go through something like that still, where there's some trauma and always that fear kind of that just is in our heart always. But we try to look past that and recognize those milestones of celebration when we get there to, that the fact that she's healthy and thriving, and that's all we can hold on to day.
Absolutely. So I assume that your life now is a little bit different than what maybe you had envisioned.
Yes, for sure. I growing up, you maybe I'm the only one, but you picture your life, what it's going to look like, and your family. And I always felt like we'd have a good sized family, and 6 kids, I think, is a good sized family,
Yes.
especially in today's world. Um, but I never pictured myself as a special needs mom. I know families that have children with special needs, and I always looked up to them and admired them and loved them, but just for some reason never pictured that as my life. So this was definitely it was a shock when we found out about Tessa, a whole new adjustment of our perspectives, and kind of what our lives looked like that we had envisioned changed and altered, and we had to move forward with that information that we knew, and really just day to day, it's changing constantly. So yeah, it's definitely different than I pictured, but also more beautiful than I could have imagined.
Good. We had a similar situation where our daughter, I had a normal pregnancy and she was born, and we found out very shortly after she was born that she had special needs, and it wasn't something we anticipated, and it definitely changed the course of our family and our parenting.
Yeah, for
So if
sure.
you could go back to the beginning of Tessa's life, um, when you had just received her Down syndrome diagnosis or her cancer diagnosis, what would you tell yourself?
Oh man. And I have to apologize if I get emotional. When I talk about Tessa, I tell people it's a matter of time before the tears start
It's
coming.
understandable.
There's a whole nother like chamber of your heart that just is opened up when you experience this. I think the first thing that I would do is and maybe this sounds a little strange, but I would give myself a hug. I think just giving myself a hug and saying that everything is going to be okay. That's something that when I faced that diagnosis for her, I just didn't know what life would look like. I didn't know what her future would look like. I didn't know if I was going to be able to handle it. So I think I would say everything's going to be okay, and tell myself that there would be challenges. You know, you were going to face some hard things, but that you have the capability to overcome them, and Tessa also has the ability to overcome them. Um, and that she's a fighter. And you're going to be stronger for this and better for this. And yeah, ultimately, just that everything is going to be okay.
Good. Sometimes I wish I could go back and give myself a hug. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
an interesting thought for sure. So how has being Tessa's mom changed you?
Oh man, being Tessa's mom has changed me in so many ways. Um, so much for the better. I feel like I'm not a perfect mom, and I'm still working for that every day, you know, trying to be better. But I think having Tessa has really changed my perspective on what's important in life. We focus so much on, you know, so many different things in our lives. And when it comes down to it, when you're fighting with your child, fighting for their life, you recognize what's truly important, and everything else fades away. Everything else is so unnecessary. And so I think for me, just learning the things that truly matter and appreciating those moments, those simple moments of just joy and simple pleasures with your family and, you know, the people that you care about the most. That's what matters. You know, there's so few things in this life that matter, but it's those relationships and those simple moments of joy that are the most important.
Well, I know I've watched several videos of Tessa online, and she just makes me smile. And I imagine she must be bringing joy to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's something that I never really expected. I, you know, started an account kind of sharing Tessa and the ups and downs that we were experiencing through her cancer journey, and I've posted some of these videos and have kind of been blown away by the response that people have shown. Um, I have had messages telling me that, you know, someone had a really bad day and, you know, terrible things had happened in their lives, but they were able to watch a video of Tessa, and it brightened their day and made them happy. And I feel really honored to get to share that because she brings so much joy to our own family that it's such a joy to get to share that with so many other people around the world, and see how she's impacting their lives as well.
Well, I'm grateful that you're sharing that. I think you're providing a lot of joy and a lot of support and comfort to other families who are experiencing similar things.
Oh, thank you. It's what I hope for, but you know,
What do you hope your other children are learning from being Tessa's siblings?
um, they, you know, it's pretty incredible just having a child with special needs, how it impacts the entire family. It's definitely a unique situation and something that we try to approach very carefully with our kids every day. Um, and we try to have these conversations with them like, okay, Tessa, you know, there are going to be some things, just us explaining the things about Tessa that make her different and maybe the challenges that she faces, has naturally caused this reaction in our children that I didn't really expect. Shortly after, you know, we had Tessa, I remember talking to my kids about other kids on a playground, and one of my daughters said this boy was being chased around, and you know the other kids were running away from him, and she said I took the time to explain to them, you know, he's just different, and you don't need to run away from him. He's not scary. And when she told me that story, I just was like so proud of that reaction that she had. And I think because she has a sister who looks different, she understands that. She understands that compassion for other people, the mentality to include others and make those who may seem different feel like they're a part of everyone. And another time, my son, he told me that one of his school friends had said something to him about Tessa and how, she looked different. And he stands up for her, and he said, well, she has Down syndrome, and Down syndrome is amazing and it's wonderful. And, just I feel like they're naturally learning those things already, to stand up for those who, may need some extra love, may need some extra inclusion, and who are the same as everybody else. They recognize that Tessa is their sister, and those who may seem different are not that different from everybody else.
That's great. I think the world would be a much better place if everyone had a sibling with special needs. It really changes
I
kids.
totally agree with that. It really does. It really does. And even the responsibility, that they have to experience, they do help a lot. And that is a necessity in our home with 6 kids and little ones. And when, with Tessa, she needs a little extra help on certain things. And so they learn that responsibility. They learn how to help and see what needs to be done in order to help someone else. So I agree. I think it has shaped them very beautifully, and I'm very happy with that.
Well, great. Along those same lines, I know that special needs kids require a lot more attention and time and focus sometimes. And I imagine with your whole experience with Tessa's cancer, that probably was magnified significantly. How have you handled giving your other kids what they need through all of this?
Yeah, so when Tessa was diagnosed, we were in a little bit of a unique situation because my husband had recently lost his job. And so through all of that, we had a unique opportunity to have one of us be at the hospital with Tessa and one of us at home with the other kids. And we tried really hard to keep that consistency of one parent with them. And when we were at home with the other kids, we tried really hard to make their lives fun and try to kind of distract them from the current situation. There were definitely times when you could always feel the void. When Tessa was in the hospital, there was always that void that they could feel. But as long as one parent was with them, we felt like they had some of that constant. But there was also times when they had opportunities for cousin sleepovers and different things just to kind of take their minds off of everything that was going on. And now that we're not in the throes of cancer and all of that kind of survival mode, one thing that we really try to focus on with our kids is one-on-one time. It's really not easy to do with a big family and life and school and homework and work and all the things that come with that. But, we've tried to set up like one-on-one dates where we take one child to go out with us on a date one time. So it's just Rick and I and that one child, and try to really make them feel special. And another thing that we've done that's even more simple is we have done, and we're sometimes more consistent than other times, but we try to do interviews with our kids and we have some treats, and they come into our room with us and we just chat with them. And it's a safe space. They know that there's no judgment, there's no consequences, no punishment, no anything for anything that they want to talk to us about. They can tell us the good things that are going on in their lives, or maybe some of the struggles that they're having. We talk about goals and just anything that they want to talk with us to make them feel like they have our attention for that, few minutes on a Sunday afternoon. That's what we'll do. And I feel like that has just helped them feel like they've received some of that attention that maybe gets taken away from, when you have a busy life with a lot of kids.
Those are great ideas. I think we probably could all implement some more of that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Can you tell me what advice you have for family or friends of people who are raising a special needs child? What do you feel like is the best way that someone could support you or someone in a similar situation?
I think for me, probably the first thing would just be to be understanding. I think it's really hard to feel maybe alienated sometimes, like you're the only one in this situation when we know we're not, but maybe to those around us, we feel like, people don't understand really maybe why we do the things we do, or if we say no to certain things, or, just the way we live our lives, there's a reason for it. So just trying to be understanding of it's nothing against anybody else. It's just this is how we've had to kind of learn to survive. I think being a good listener, just having someone to talk to maybe about, what you're experiencing so that you feel understood to those who may be on the outside looking in. And then, when Tessa was diagnosed with cancer, we had the most incredible help from so many of our neighbors and our friends and family. And something that I really appreciated was, so I maybe I'm not correct in saying this, but I think you can almost always assume that someone raising a child with special needs could use help.
Yes.
I think that's almost always a guarantee. If you're wondering if they could use the help, I think pretty much always they always can use the help. And so just making that assumption and offering help as something that you're going to do. Like we had a neighbor who during Tessa's treatment one summer, she said, I want to make dinner for you guys once a week. Every week on Wednesdays, I'm making dinner for my family already. We'll just make some extras. And they lived across the street and they brought it over to us. And it's really hard to ask for help. And I think many of us special needs moms and families we never want to be a burden on anybody else and don't want to be the person that's continually asking. So for someone to offer help is just so refreshing because you don't feel like you're a burden because they're the ones offering, and it's easier to say yes to something like that. Like, I would love to do this for you. Of course you can say, is that okay? But saying this is something that I would really like to do for you guys or your family makes it easier to say, okay, yeah, that would be really wonderful, and accept that help.
Great. Yes, I think it's oftentimes hard to ask for help, but when it's offered,
Yeah.
It's usually welcome.
Yes.
What do you
Agreed.
wish other people could experience or know about having a child with special needs?
I feel like the thing I wish other people could experience is just the amount of love and the pureness of love that these individuals have to give. Being around Tessa is something unlike anything I've experienced. Her love is so pure and it's without judgment. It's without, there are no restraints on the amount of love that she gives and who she gives it to. Like, she just loves. And that's just an incredible thing to experience. Of course, as her mother, I love that because I'm her mom, but it's beautiful to see how she exhibits that same love for so many other people in her life. So I think just being able to feel that love and feel like you're important, like somehow she does that. She just makes you feel like you're the most important person. And I think it's just because her heart is just so big, and it's just a wonderful, amazing thing to experience. And I think something that I would love people to understand about individuals with special needs is just that they are so similar in all of their needs as we are. When Tessa was diagnosed with Down syndrome, I was so worried and so scared and overwhelmed, really, to be honest. But in reality, when I look back now, I'm like, all I needed to do was love her. That's all she needs. She just needs our love. And she has so much to give in return. And that's just an amazing gift. It's all of the things that, there are challenges that come, but it pays itself back over and over again with the joys and achieving those milestones that just, maybe in other times didn't seem as exciting. But man, when Tessa, we waited 3 years to see her walk. And when she walked, I mean, you can bet, like, crying, tears, celebrations. It's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, just appreciating that they have so much love to give, and they have the same needs as everybody else, and just being their friend, just being there for them and loving them is all that they need.
Yes, thank you. And I think, at least in my experience, what I get from the relationship is a lot more than what I feel I give to my daughter. She's teaching me a lot more than I'm teaching her, for sure.
I I agree. I feel the same. I feel like it's almost a little unfair, but it is. It's so incredible.
It is. Your family was able to take a Make a Wish trip. Is that correct? Could you tell
Yes,
us a
yeah,
little
we
bit
did.
about that?
Yeah. So it was kind of an interesting time because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was something that our family, we had looked forward to for a long time, because there are certain requirements as far as your child goes, the ages that they can be, and they still have to be in treatment. And Tessa was so young when she was diagnosed that we had to wait a little bit longer to go. But it was something that we thought back on, or thought of, and anticipated so much during her treatment. It was just this, like, bright light of hope and excitement, and something that we could do as a family that we had to look forward to, that kept us going during those really, really, hard and dark times. And so when the time came, obviously there's definitely some anxiety because with a child with cancer, if they get a fever, you're in the hospital. That's just kind of a guaranteed thing. And so we had been pretty isolated trying to keep Tessa safe. And then we ended up taking this Make-A-Wish trip to Florida, to Disney World. And so there was just this excitement, anticipation, and just hoping and praying that everything would go well, that she could stay well, so we could enjoy this time. And things really were just incredibly wonderful for us on our trip. It was an incredible experience. I don't know if very many people know, when you go, you stay at a place called Give Kids the World, and they have these villas for each family, and you get to stay in them, and it's this whole kind of almost like mini Disney World that you get to stay in. And they have rides, and they have an arcade, and they have ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And just, like, it's this amazing facility, and it's hosted by volunteers, all these volunteers. It was amazing to us to see these young college students who, on spring break, chose to come to Give Kids the World to volunteer, as opposed to going, anywhere
Right.
else, um, to help these families, and to be surrounded by all of those families who, were going through similar, really hard times, was inspiring and humbling. to be able to be around so many of them. Um, but the treatment was just amazing. Our family felt so special. We were able to go to, a park every day, and our kids just, I mean, we still talk about it probably weekly about how amazing it was. And then when we were one of the last trips that actually got to go before everything shut down from the pandemic. And so when we got home, we isolated again and were in quarantine for a while because Tessa's immune system was still very fragile. And so it was those moments that we thought back on, even when we got home. Like, it was amazing to me to all that anticipation leading up to the trip, and then all of those memories afterward that we got to enjoy. So it was a wonderful experience, and I mean, I'm just so grateful for it every day.
I love hearing about that because I think I've heard maybe a couple different experiences like that, but what a wonderful time for
Yeah.
your family to be together when you'd been kind of separated with her at the hospital and doing all the treatments and so forth. What a great foundation. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely felt like, for our other kids who, um, it's hard when one of your children, she was getting a lot of attention for, obviously, because we were just trying to keep her alive. And so I think there's definitely some feelings of, just kind of feeling
Hmm.
overshadowed a bit. But they make all the kids feel so special when you go on that trip. And so all of my kids, I think, felt like they were, on top of the world as well. And to be able to spend that time together was just incredible.
That's fabulous. Sounds really just like an amazing experience.
It was.
Tell me about the role that music plays in your life.
Oh man, music is um, something that my husband and I actually bonded over before we got married. We both found out that we're both very, we love music. He writes music and I write music, and so it's been something that we've been able to do together, and all through our dating and courtship, and even now, we'll, if we get the time, now it's a little bit harder, but if we get the time, we'll sit down and learn a song together and sing together. Um, music has also been a really amazing form of therapy for us. Tessa, in the hospital, when we were in the hospital, so many days, like, she didn't really watch movies yet at that point. She was still so little, but The Greatest Showman was her favorite. She asked for it every single day, and it was sometimes the only thing that we could play for her to get her to stop crying. So we would watch that and listen to it over and over and over again. And we brought our guitars and ukuleles and all the things when we were inpatient at the hospital, and we would sing to her. And that was something that just really helped her. It calmed her soul. Sometimes, if she was really upset, we have a channel with a few of our songs on it, and we would turn that on, and she still requests those songs. I can't believe she like remembers them, but yeah, she still loves it, and we've written music together and separately, just as kind of a form to kind of get our emotions out. Definitely, there were times when we were going through really hard times where I would just sit on the piano and play for as long as I could, and sometimes at the end of my playing, I'm all of a sudden just, like, sobbing, and I think it's just a way that we were able to get out our emotions, kind of get an understanding of what we were feeling. When you're going through something like that, it's really hard to, um sometimes you become a little numb. And, with our other kids at home, I knew if I went in the closet and cried, that my kids would come in and say, "What's wrong, Mom?" and be
Right.
concerned and be worried about Tessa. And, that's their always the first concern is everything okay? Because if I'm crying, they're
Yes.
worried. So yeah, things like that where we could just kind of get out those emotions safely and not causing too many other disturbances. It's been a really great tool for us.
I love that you've found that that way to kind of release your emotions in a way that's healthy and continues to be beneficial. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we just need a little more time to be able to sit down and do it
I
more
bet.
often, but it's really fun.
What are your hopes for Tessa for the future?
Oh man, uh, ultimately, my hopes and dreams for Tessa is to live a fulfilled life full of joy, and she does that already really well. um, I want to support her in whatever she wants to do. I want to be there for her and be able to understand what she wants in life and to be able to support her and help her through those things. We actually we moved just about a year ago into a house that has a walkout basement because I have a friend, well, my cousin actually, who has special needs. I was having this conversation with her, and she and Tessa actually share a birthday, and she just loves that they share a birthday, and she adores Tessa, and I think she feels that
Mm-hmm.
connection that they have. Um, excuse me. And we were having a conversation once, and she told me her parents had gotten an apartment for her in their home when she was, in her 30s and as an adult. And she said, that's when I finally felt like myself. And to me, it just clicked in my mind. And I was like, okay, if that's what Tessa wants, I don't know what she's going to want. I don't know if she's going to want to live totally independently from us. I don't know if she's going to want to live still close enough, but also, have that autonomy, but also have help if she needs it. But I just, at that point, I was like, okay, this is something that I would love to help support her if she wants it. And we tried to, figure out a way. Obviously, there's still a lot of time to figure all these things out. But ultimately, I want what she wants for her life. I want her to be happy. And that's really all.
Well, we are so glad that you joined us today. Can you tell us where we can find information and follow you?
Sure. So I post semi-regularly on Instagram, and you can find us there at Guymon Tribe. So that's Guymon, Guymon Tribe. Lots of silly videos and funny stories of Tessa and the silly, sassy, fun, amazing person that she is. Yeah, so that's where you can find us.
Great. And how about your music?
We post there occasionally. Um, we do have a YouTube channel. I think it's Guymon Music, and there's some music there. We're still, right now it's a bit of a work in progress because we're just focusing on raising the kids and all of that. But hopefully, we hope to get back to doing more of that.
Well, we'll look for
So
more of that in the future. Thank you so
thanks
much.
so much. Thanks so much for
Yes,
having
thank
me.
you. Thanks for joining us today on Inspiring Moms, and we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Inspiring Moms. If you or someone you know is interested in being featured as an inspiring mom, please contact us at inspiringmoms@mommyhighfive.com.